The night sky was silent, filled with stars that looked like frozen diamonds. A single ship cut across the darkness, moving slowly toward a planet hidden in shadows. Inside the ship sat a man, a human explorer, his name unknown, his mission a secret. He had traveled across galaxies, following a signal that no one else dared to chase. When the ship landed, the ground shook as if the planet itself was alive. Dust rose, and the air carried a strange golden glow. The explorer stepped outside, his boots sinking into black sand that sparkled like crushed glass. In the distance, he saw towers rising into the sky, sharp and shining, built not by human hands. They looked like teeth of some great beast, warning intruders to stay away. He walked closer, feeling every step heavy, as if the planet was pulling him down. At the gate of the towers, two creatures appeared, tall and armored, their faces hidden. They did not speak, only moved aside, opening the path. The explorer entered, his heart steady, but his mind full of questions. Inside, the kingdom was silent, only the sound of flowing energy humming in the air. The walls were carved with strange symbols, glowing faintly. Every step echoed, as if the hall itself was alive, watching him, judging him. And then he reached the throne room. There, sitting on a massive throne of crystal and bone, was the alien king. His form was tall, his skin silver, his eyes burning like fire trapped in glass. He wore no crown, but the power in his presence was heavier than metal. When he spoke, his voice filled the room like thunder. "Welcome, traveler. You have crossed the stars to reach me, and now I offer you a choice." The explorer stayed silent, his eyes scanning the hall. Everywhere, treasures lay piled. Mountains of gold, rivers of gems, weapons glowing with fire. But the explorer's gaze caught something stranger, something hidden in the corner of the room. There were statues of women, bound in chains, carved from stone, or so it seemed. Their faces were sorrowful, their eyes closed, as if crying in silence. The king noticed his gaze and smiled. "You look at them, do you not? Beautiful works of art, made from those who dared to defy me." His smile grew sharper, his teeth glimmering like blades. "But leave them, for they are nothing compared to the gift I shall give you." The explorer said nothing, but he could not stop staring at one statue in particular. Unlike the others, her eyes were open, glowing faintly, as if alive. Her lips parted slightly, almost like she wanted to speak, but no sound came, only silence. And then, for the smallest moment, he thought he heard a whisper inside his mind. The king's voice cut through the silence. "I offer you treasure beyond your imagination, gold to build empires, weapons to destroy worlds, knowledge to rule the stars." His arms stretched wide, and the treasures around the hall shimmered with strange light. But the explorer's gaze kept returning to the chain girl. The king leaned forward, his fire-bright eyes studying the human carefully. "You may choose, traveler. What will it be? Endless treasure, or something else?" The room grew colder, as if the walls waited for his answer. The girl's faint glow flickered again, her eyes meeting his, begging silently. The explorer's chest tightened, his mind racing. He was no fool. He knew that treasure in the hands of a king was never truly free. There was always a price, always a chain hidden behind the gift. But the girl, why was she chained? Why was she still alive after centuries? And why could he feel her sorrow inside his own mind? The king's smile widened, sharp as a blade. "You hesitate, traveler. Many before you have fallen on their knees for my gift. Yet you stand still, staring at shadows." His voice thundered again, shaking the hall. "Be wise, human, for your choice will shape your destiny, and perhaps your doom." The explorer said nothing, but his hand moved slightly toward the girl's direction. The king's smile faded, his eyes narrowing. The treasures around seemed to tremble, as if alive, waiting, watching. The hall itself grew darker, and for the first time, the explorer realized he had not stepped into a hall of gifts. He had stepped into a trap. The alien king leaned back on his throne, his burning eyes never leaving the human. His words were slower now, colder, sharper. Remember this, traveler. Treasure is a gift, but the girl is a curse. Choose wrong, and you may not leave this place alive. But deep inside, the explorer already knew one thing. He had not come for gold, not for power, not for weapons. He had come for the truth, and the truth was chained, glowing faintly in the corner of the king's hall, waiting for him to decide. The great hall was silent, yet heavy with unseen voices. The explorer stood in the middle, his eyes moving between endless mountains of treasure and the single chained girl glowing in the corner. The alien king's throne gleamed in the golden light, his fiery eyes locked on the human like a predator watching its prey. Time felt slower, each breath like a drumbeat, each heartbeat like thunder inside the explorer's chest. The king spoke again, his voice echoing across the crystal walls. Do not let curiosity mislead you. Traveler, those who stare at her for too long lose themselves, forget her, and take what is yours. His hand waved toward the shining treasures, rivers of gold, crowns burning with blue fire, weapons humming with strange power. The ground itself seemed to vibrate with the energy of the gifts. But the explorer could not look away from the girl. Her chains glowed faintly, like veins of light running across her body. Her eyes were not empty like stone statues. They were alive, burning with pain and hope mixed together. Her lips parted slightly again, and this time he heard it clearly, a voice inside his mind, soft and broken. Help me, it whispered. The explorer's jaw tightened, his breath caught for a moment. He glanced at the king, but the alien ruler sat calm, as if he heard nothing. The whisper came again, a little stronger, a little clearer. I have waited for centuries. Do not take the treasure. Free me. The king's sharp smile returned. You feel her voice, do you not? A trick, a poison inside your mind. That is why she must remain bound. He leaned forward, his fiery eyes glowing brighter. She is a danger far greater than any war, greater than any weapon, greater than even me. The explorer's fists clenched, his mind torn between two paths. The treasure glittered with promises, power, safety, glory. But the girl's eyes begged silently, pulling his soul like a magnet. He felt that if he walked away, leaving her behind, the universe itself would curse his name forever. He took a step closer to her. The king's voice roared, shaking the hall like a storm. Stop! Do not go near her, human. Your kind does not understand the weight of such a choice. The treasures around rattled as if they were alive. The golden crowns screamed in silence. The weapons pulsed with fire. The explorer froze, but his eyes never left the girl. She closed her eyes, and the chains glowed brighter, as if answering his presence. The whisper returned, louder this time, echoing in his skull. I was betrayed, I was bound, centuries have passed, and none dare to free me. Her voice trembled with sadness, but carried a strength hidden beneath the sorrow. The king rose from his throne, towering over the hall. His body shimmered, his silver skin shifting like liquid metal. He stretched his arms wide, his voice crashing like thunder. You came for treasure, not for her. Do not let pity blind you. Traveler, pity will kill you. The explorer's breath grew heavy, his heart beat faster. The hall seemed to close in around him. The treasure piles now felt like mountains pressing down. But still his eyes returned to her, the girl with glowing chains, the girl who seemed more real than all the gold around. Her voice entered his mind again, softer this time, almost like a secret. Please, if you choose me, you will know the truth. If you choose gold, you will know only lies. The words shook him more than any threat. Truth, not treasure. That was what he came searching for. His entire journey across the stars was not for wealth, but for answers. The king stepped down from his throne, each step shaking the ground. His tall figure stood between the explorer and the girl. His fiery eyes burned with anger now, no longer calm, no longer pretending. You will not choose her, he growled, his voice like a blade cutting through stone. Her freedom is death for you and death for me. But the explorer did not answer. His silence was an answer itself. He took another step forward, even with the king blocking his path. The girl's chains glowed brighter than before, the lights spreading across the hall like cracks of dawn. And for the first time, the explorer saw fear in the alien king's eyes. The hall trembled, the treasures rattled violently. Statues along the walls shook, dust falling from their stone faces. The king's voice thundered one last warning. Choose wisely, traveler. Your choice will bind your fate, your soul, and perhaps your world. The explorer's heart pounded. The girl's glowing eyes locked onto his. Treasure or truth, gift or curse, gold or the chain girl. And in that suspended moment, the hidden choice stood before him. A choice no man had dared to make for centuries. The silence in the hall was not empty. It was alive, breathing, waiting. The explorer stood frozen, torn between the king's furious command and the girl's glowing chains. Every treasure around him shimmered like fire, but his ears no longer heard the king's promises. What he heard instead was the faint, trembling whisper inside his mind. Do not fear him, the voice said, soft but steady. It was the girl, speaking without moving her lips, her eyes glowing brighter as if fueled by hope. The sound was not in the air. It was inside his soul, echoing through his thoughts like a memory he never lived. For a moment, the explorer almost dropped to his knees, not from fear, but from the weight of her sorrow. The alien king narrowed his burning eyes. He could not hear her voice, but he saw the human's face change. You hear her, don't you? The king thundered, his voice sharp as broken glass. Her words are poison. Her sorrow is a trap. It will break you until nothing of you remains. But the whisper returned, cutting through the king's anger like a blade of light. I am not poison. I am truth. He fears me because I carry what he cannot hide. Her words carried pain, but also defiance. She had been silent for centuries, yet her first words were not of weakness, but of resistance. The explorer clenched his fists, sweat on his brow. He tried to step closer, but the weight of the hall grew heavier, as if the walls themselves were pushing him back. The king spread his arms, and the treasure around them began to glow violently. Every jewel pulsed like a heart. Every crown screamed in silence. Every weapon trembled with rage. Look at what I give you, human, the king roared. My gifts can make you a god among your kind. Why waste your fate on her? His silver skin shimmered, shifting like liquid fire. His shadow stretched across the floor, swallowing the light. But the whisper fought against his thunder. I was not always chained, the girl's voice said softly. Her glowing eyes locked onto the explorer's, holding him in place. I was a queen once, and I ruled beside him. But he betrayed me, he bound me in these chains so none could know the truth of what he is. The explorer's breath grew faster, his heart hammering in his chest. Her words painted a different story, not of curse, but of injustice. If she was once a queen, then the king was not a ruler, but a thief of power. The human's mind burned with questions, but he already felt the answer pressing down on him. The king slammed his clawed hand against the throne. The sound cracked like thunder, shaking dust from the crystal ceiling. Lies, he hissed, his fiery eyes flaring brighter. She twists her story like a snake. She would burn galaxies if you let her free. The whisper came again, more desperate now. I burn nothing. I was bound so he could rule alone. He feared me. He fears me still. Her words echoed like bells inside the explorer's skull. He could almost feel her pain bleeding into his own chest, centuries of silence pressing into him all at once. He staggered, holding his head, torn between thunder and whisper, gold and chains, power and truth. The king's voice thundered again. Choose, traveler. The longer you delay, the closer you fall to her curse. But the girl's voice cut through with a final plea. You are not the first to stand here. Many chose as gold. Many turned away, but none had the courage to choose me. Will you be the first?" The explorer raised his head, his eyes burning with silent fire. His legs felt like stone, but he stepped forward once more. The girl's chains flared, glowing so bright they painted the hall with light. The king growled, his silver skin shifting like blades, his anger breaking through his calm mask. The hall trembled again, louder than before. The treasures screamed with voices not human. The statues along the walls cracked, their sorrowful faces breaking as if they too could hear the whisper. The king's voice dropped to a cold growl. "Another step, human, and you will never leave this place alive." But the explorer did not stop. He had traveled too far. He had seen too much. And deep inside, he knew that gold could never silence truth. The girl's eyes glowed like two suns, her whisper now strong enough to drown out even the king's thunder. "Free me," she whispered, no longer broken but commanding. Her voice echoed through every corner of the hall. "Free me, and you will see the world as it truly is." The explorer's hand stretched forward. The chains of light pulsed in response. The king raised his arms, power boiling around him. And in that moment, the hall became a battlefield of silence and sound, whisper and thunder, truth and lies. The choice still hung in the air, but with every second, the whisper grew stronger. And the king's fury revealed his fear. The hall shook with a force that was not only sound but will. The alien king's presence spread like a storm, pressing against the human's chest. The explorer struggled to breathe, yet his eyes still clung to the chained girl glowing in the corner. Her whisper filled his soul, her plea stronger than the roar of treasure. But the king stepped forward, his silver skin rippling like liquid armor. He raised one clawed hand, and with emotion, the treasure shifted. Piles of gold rose like waves. Gems floated in the air like stars torn from the sky. Weapons hummed, their blades dripping with energy strong enough to tear planets in half. The king's fiery eyes glowed brighter, his voice deep, hypnotic. Why choose a broken soul in chains when you could command the stars themselves? He stretched out his hand, offering a crown glowing with red fire. With this, you would be a ruler of men. No emperor could stand against you. The explorer's eyes flickered toward the crown. It pulsed like a heartbeat, calling to him, whispering promises of power in his mind. But another whisper, softer yet sharper, cut through the temptation. The girl's voice, steady this time, unshaken. "His gifts are prisons, they shine to hide the chains." The king's lips curled into a smile, sharper than blades. "You doubt me, human? Let me tempt you further." He waved his hand again, and a weapon floated before the explorer, a blade longer than a man, black as night, humming with endless energy. With this, no enemy could defeat you. One strike would silence armies. One swing would tear fleets from the sky. The explorer reached out slightly, his fingers trembling near the weapon. It hummed louder, pulling him in, whispering victory, conquest, immortality. But the girl's eyes locked onto his, glowing brighter than the blade. Her whisper came again, soft but filled with fire. "Power without truth destroys. What he offers is not freedom. It is slavery painted in gold." The king's smile faltered for a moment, then grew sharper. He raised both arms, and the hall blazed with light. Jewels fell like rain. Rivers of gold flowed across the floor. Statues crumbled, revealing treasures hidden inside their hollow shells. All of it was his kingdom's wealth, a fortune greater than entire civilizations. "Take it all, human," the king thundered, his voice a flood. "Take it and never bow again. Take it and carve your name across the stars. Leave the girl. She is nothing." His fiery eyes burned through the air, testing the human soul. The treasures around screamed louder, the crown, the blade, the gold, all begging to be chosen. But the girl's whisper broke through once more. "I am not nothing. I am truth. I am what he fears. He hides behind gifts because he cannot face me free. Her voice was calm now, calm in the middle of storm. The explorer's heart pounded, torn between the king's thunder and the girl's steady whisper. The king stepped closer, his silver form towering above the human. He lowered his voice, almost gentle, almost kind. You are mortal, fragile, small in this vast universe. Without me, you are nothing. Choose the girl, and you will die. Choose me, and you will live forever. The explorer lifted his head, his jaw set. He looked not at the gold, not at the weapon, not at the crown. His gaze returned to the girl, glowing chains burning brighter than the king's fire. She was bound, yet her presence felt freer than all the treasures combined. The king snarled, his patience breaking. Fool, do you not see? I offer you worlds, yet you stare at chains. The treasures rattled violently, light flashing like lightning. The hall groaned, alive with the king's fury. The girl's whisper rose, louder now, filling every corner of the hall. His worlds are illusions, his gifts are lies. He fears me because I carry the truth he cannot kill. Her chains cracked faintly, sparks of light flying into the air. The explorer took another step forward. The treasures around dimmed in his eyes, fading into shadows. The crown, the blade, the gold, all looked pale compared to the glow of her chain form. The king roared in fury, his voice shaking the pillars. Then you are no seeker of treasure. You are a fool chasing ghosts. But the explorer did not stop. Each step closer made the girl's chains glow brighter. Each step closer made the king's mask of control crack. The hall was no longer filled with temptation, but with war, a war of choices, a war of truth and lies. The girl's whisper became a command now, echoing like thunder of its own. Do not bow to his gifts, do not bend to his lies, free me. The explorer's hand clenched into a fist, his breath steady, his eyes burning. For the first time he spoke, his voice low but firm. I did not come for treasure, I came for truth. The king's fiery eyes widened. The treasures screamed louder, as if alive, as if they feared being ignored. The girl's chains blazed like suns, light flooding the hall, and the alien king's smile faded into something darker. The mask of generosity had shattered, revealing the beast beneath. The hall was no longer silent. It was alive with chaos. The treasures screamed like angry spirits. The jewels shook as if they feared being ignored. The weapons hummed louder, their edges dripping with sparks. The alien king's fire burned brighter, his body shifting like a storm of silver blades. The explorer stood still, his boots planted firmly against the trembling floor. The crown hovered in the air before him, glowing with red fire. The blade pulsed beside it, black as night, promising endless victory. The gold rivers rippled at his feet, calling him, tempting him, begging him. But his eyes were locked on her, the chained girl. Her glowing light spread wider now, no longer a faint spark, but a fire. Her eyes were steady, her whisper clear. Choose me, and you choose truth. Choose me, and you choose freedom. The king roared, his voice breaking like thunder. Do not listen to her. She has poisoned kings. She has destroyed worlds. She will destroy you. His clawed hand slashed the air, and the crown glowed brighter. The blade screamed louder. The treasures around formed a storm, gold and jewels rising in the air, swirling like a furious sea. But the explorer did not move toward them. His breath was steady, his jaw tight, his soul already decided. The girl's chains cracked again, sending waves of light across the hall. Each crack was a heartbeat, each spark a signal that her freedom was near. The king stepped down from his throne, his towering form casting shadows that swallowed the hall. He stood between the explorer and the chained girl, his fiery eyes burning with fury and fear. You dare defy me, he hissed, his voice low but sharper than any blade. You dare reject my gifts, my power, my empire, for a curse bound to stone? The explorer raised his head, meeting the king's fiery gaze. For the first time, his voice rang clear in the hall. I did not come here for gold, nor for crowns, nor for blades. I came for the truth, and the truth is bound in your chains. The king staggered back for the smallest moment, his fire dimming in shock. Then rage flooded him, shaking the pillars, cracking the crystal ceiling above. You choose her, his voice roared, filling every corner of the hall. You choose chains over treasure, death over immortality, ruin over glory. The explorer's voice stayed firm, his words calm but unshakable. I choose her. The girl's chains shattered with a sound like lightning splitting the sky. Blinding light erupted, flooding the hall, pushing back the darkness. The statues along the walls broke apart, their sorrowful faces crumbling into dust. The treasures screamed, their voices fading, their light dying, until they were nothing more than piles of cold, empty stone. The king's silver body twisted violently, his form breaking. His fire flared into a storm of rage, no longer controlled, no longer calm. You fool, he bellowed, his voice cracking the floor beneath their feet. You have doomed yourself. You have doomed us all. The explorer shielded his eyes from the light, but his stance never broke. The girl stepped forward, her chains gone, her body glowing with power. Her whisper was no longer soft. It was a voice of command. I am free. The king staggered, his fiery eyes wide with fear for the first time. No, he hissed, his silver skin trembling. You are mine, bound forever. You cannot be free. But the girl's light grew brighter, swallowing his shadow, pushing his fury back. The hall itself began to collapse, the walls groaning, the ceiling cracking. The treasures turned to dust, rivers of gold dried into ash. The ground split, revealing veins of fire beneath. The air shook with the battle of light and shadow, truth and lies. The explorer stood between them, caught in the storm of their war. But his choice was made, his soul unshaken. He had not chosen safety. He had not chosen power. He had chosen truth, and truth had broken the chains. The king roared again, his voice filled with pain and fury. You will regret this, human. She will consume you. She will consume everything. His body twisted further, monstrous shapes breaking from his silver skin. Claws, wings, shadows, all rising from his form, his true self revealed. But the girl stepped forward, her glowing hands lifting. Her light burned through the air, steady, endless, fearless. Her voice rose like thunder, a command that shook the universe. You betrayed me, you bound me, and now your reign ends. The king screamed in rage, his monstrous body lunging forward. The hall split apart, fire and light colliding, shadows and truth tearing at each other. The explorer clenched his fists, his heart steady, his choice complete. There was no turning back now. The decision was made, and the war of centuries had begun. The chains were gone, broken into shards of light that floated in the air like stars. The girl stood tall for the first time in centuries, her body glowing with a brilliance that filled every shadow. Her hair lifted in the current of power, her eyes blazing like suns hidden behind human form. The explorer stepped back, shielding his face, yet unable to look away. The alien king roared, his silver body twisting into monstrous shapes. Wings burst from his back, jagged and sharp as broken blades. His arms split into claws, his face stretching into something inhuman. The throne behind him shattered into dust, unable to hold the weight of his true form. You fool, the king thundered, his voice shaking the hall like an earthquake. You have freed a weapon, not a woman. She will tear this world apart, and you with it. His fiery eyes locked on the human, rage and betrayal burning together. But the girl stepped forward, her voice steady, her glow rising higher. No, I am not a weapon. I am what you fear, the end of your lies. The ground split open beneath their feet, rivers of fire gushing through cracks. The golden treasures melted, their shine revealed as nothing but ash. The statues that lined the walls crumbled, their sorrowful faces released into dust. The hall was no longer a palace. It was a battlefield of light and shadow. The king spread his claws wide, summoning storms of darkness. Shadows twisted around him, forming spears, blades, creatures with burning eyes. He hurled them toward the girl, a storm of death rushing across the hall. But she raised her hands, her light pulsing outward, and every shadow burned to nothing. The explorers staggered back, the force of their clash rattling his bones. He had faced storms, he had crossed voids, but nothing in the universe had ever felt like this. It was not a battle of armies. It was a battle of truth and lies, of freedom and chains. And he was standing in the middle of it, a witness to history long buried. The king roared again, his monstrous wings beating, his body towering like a mountain of fire and silver. You think you can destroy me? After centuries of reign, after worlds have bent before me? His claws slashed through the air, tearing rifts of shadow that spread like poison. But the girl's light poured brighter, each step she took cracking the ground beneath her. Her chains had not only held her, they had been storing her power. And now that power was unleashed, unstoppable, endless, burning. She lifted her hand, and the shards of broken chains spun around her like stars. They joined into a circle of light, a crown of freedom forged from pain. Her voice shook the air, clear and commanding. You rule by fear, by binding what you could not defeat. But fear ends tonight. The king lunged, his monstrous form colliding with her light. The explosion rocked the hall, fire and radiance tearing through the walls. The ceiling cracked wide open, revealing the night sky above. Stars themselves seemed to tremble as shadow and light clashed in fury. The explorer fell to one knee, holding onto the broken floor as the storm raged. Dust and sparks filled the air. Every breath burned his lungs. But still, he did not run, his eyes fixed on the battle before him. He had chosen her, and now he would see his choice through, even if it meant death. The king's claws slashed again, sparks of shadow cutting through stone. But the girl caught his strike in her glowing hand, stopping the unstoppable. Her voice rang out, louder than his roar. You called me curse, you call me weapon, but I am freedom, and freedom cannot be chained. Her light exploded outward, tearing through his monstrous form. The king screamed, his silver body shattering into shards of shadow. But still he rose, rebuilding his fire unbroken. He was not just a ruler, he was centuries of power bound into flesh. And he would not fall so easily. The girl's glow dimmed for a moment, her breath heavy. The explorer saw her falter, and his heart clenched. Even free, even powerful, she was not limitless. She had been bound for centuries, her strength not yet whole. And the king, though wounded, still raged with endless fury. The hall collapsed further, walls falling into fire, the sky above tearing open wider. The battlefield was no longer a throne room. It was the world itself, breaking under their clash. The king spread his wings wide, his shadow stretching across the land. The girl raised her arms, her light reaching into the stars. And the explorer, standing between them, realized the truth. This was not only her war, it was his too. For freeing her meant facing the storm that followed. The king's voice roared across the fire. You cannot win. No matter how much you shine, freedom is fragile, and chains are eternal. The girl's answer came, steady and unbroken. Chains break, shadows fade, but truth endures. The two forces clashed again, the explosion brighter than the sun. The explorer shielded his face, yet felt the light in his bones. The war had begun, and there was no turning back. The release was here, and the universe itself trembled. The hall was gone, the kingdom was gone, only ruins and fire remained. Above them the sky split open, stars burned brighter, as if the universe itself was watching. The alien king towered in his monstrous form, wings of shadow stretching across the heavens. The freed girl, glowing like a star reborn, stood against him, her light steady even as her body trembled. The explorer stood between them, his chest heaving, his hands clenched. He had chosen, and his choice had shattered the chains of centuries. Now he stood in a war that was never meant for him, yet bound him all the same. This was no longer only about treasure, it was about truth. The king's voice roared like fire across the broken land. You dare call yourself free, but you are nothing without me. His silver skin shifted, his claws stretched, his fiery eyes burning with fury and fear together. You were mine, bound forever, my crown, my throne, my weapon. The girl lifted her head, her eyes glowing brighter than his flames. I was never yours, she said, her voice echoing across the ruins. Her light cracked the ground beneath her, pushing back his shadow. I was queen, I was life, I was truth, and you feared me. The king staggered, his wings folding for a moment, as if her words cut deeper than her power. The explorer saw something in his burning eyes, not just anger, but terror. The king feared her, feared what she was, feared the truth she carried. And for the first time, the explorer understood. The treasure was never gold. It was knowledge hidden in chains. The king lunged again, his monstrous claws slashing through air. But the girl raised her hands, catching the blow with light. The collision exploded, fire and radiance tearing through the sky. The ground cracked open, swallowing towers into fire. The explorer was thrown back, rolling across the broken stones. Dust filled his lungs, but he forced himself to rise. He could not fight like them, but he could not turn away either. This was his choice, his war, his truth. The girl's voice rang clear again. You bound me because I knew what you are. Her glowing eyes pierced through his monstrous form. You are no king. You are a thief of worlds, a parasite of empires, a liar crowned in shadow. The king screamed, his voice shaking the stars. Silence! His claws lashed, his wings spread wide, shadows swallowing half the sky. But the girl's light burned through, cracking his silver skin, revealing darkness beneath. The explorer's eyes widened. Beneath the silver flesh was not fire, but rot. The alien king was no god, no immortal ruler. He was a parasite feeding on chains, feeding on fear, feeding on her. The girl's whisper returned, but now it was strong, steady, unbroken. Now you see the truth, traveler. His gifts were lies, his crown was stolen, his throne built on my silence. The explorer's chest tightened, his breath sharp. This was why he had come. Not for treasure, but for this, the truth no one else dared to find. The king staggered, his monstrous form cracking, his shadows bleeding into the fire. You cannot kill me. Even free you cannot end me. I am eternal, he hissed, but his voice no longer thundered. It shook, weak beneath his rage. The girl stepped forward, her light burning hotter. No chain is eternal. No lie lasts forever. Her glow flared, flooding the battlefield, swallowing shadow, burning the king's monstrous form into fragments. The air trembled, the sky cracked, the stars seemed to roar with her. The king screamed one final time, his voice filled with pain and fear. And then his form shattered, broken into shards of shadow that scattered into the void. Silence fell, the ruins still burning, the sky still broken. The girl lowered her hands, her glow dimming slowly. Her body trembled, her breath heavy, yet her eyes were steady. The explorer stepped forward, his voice low. You were telling the truth all along. She turned to him, her gaze soft but endless. I was bound because he feared me, but you freed me, and with me, you freed truth. Her light faded further, leaving only faint glow around her. But freedom carries a price, traveler, and now the war begins. The explorer's heart tightened. War? He asked, though he already knew the answer. The girl looked at the broken sky, her voice steady. The king was not alone. He was only the first. Many like him still rule, hiding behind crowns of shadow. And now that I am free, they will come. The explorer's chest rose and fell. He had not come for war, but war had found him. Yet he did not regret his choice, not for treasure, not for power, because truth was worth more than gold, and freedom worth more than crowns.